Day 1,572 days since Richard now Paso, Texas. That's the borderland. And, we're getting a lot of good news. Let's see if all of this is working. There we go. Okay. Looks like it's all working. Okay, I can see all comments now. And it's really important because this case is really big and it is making the news. We're getting a lot of feedback. As you can obviously tell now. So Richard, our son, joined the military as a volunteer soldier to serve his country, to have mentors, to be trained, to learn how to be a criminal investigator in the CID, in the U.S. Army CID. He ran into fraud and criminal activity within the military. And you are told, and of course, him being the son of a veteran, happy Veterans Day, happy Veterans Day. See something, say something is absolutely, just told, the whole time, especially when you're on base and, it's see something, say something all the time. That's what they advertise. Richard saw something and he reported it. He said something. And so on this Veterans Day, we want to honor Rob, of course, Richard's father, 30 years, absolutely a hero, absolutely putting his life on the line now because of the criminal activity in the military and with the politicians, El Paso, the rogue criminal group in the law enforcement, with the compromise with the cartel in the criminal trafficking, the child sex trafficking. It is huge news. And Rob has put his name on the line hundreds and hundreds of times. We have sent out so much. He has sent out so much. And so he is really a hero. His 30 years, impeccable record, beautiful record. I posted it all today. And I posted I even made like a music video, but on TikTok, it's kind of being banned. It's kind of being shadow banned. So I hope that you go over to TikTok and go to the channel, Real Fine Richard Halliday on TikTok, and take a look at the music video. It's very important. And we want to wish everyone a happy Veterans Day. So, what is going on behind the scenes? Well, you have Stephen Miller being appointed the Assistant Chief of Staff. This is really important for us because he is on record calling out the Biden administration for child trafficking. So they are absolutely aware of the child trafficking network that has been going on. And don't forget that we were part of J6. We were there, and we weren't. We were there to meet media, to meet podcasters, to meet hopefully some politicians, some people with influence, give them our son's story, give them a flyer, give them a prayer candle, let them know that we needed help. And so we left pretty early. It was like 3 o'clock when we left. Um, but we had a pretty good idea of the crowd there, the type of crowd there, a million people, and we absolutely knew that the false story that was given out to the public by the media was just that, a false story, a twisted story, a very twisted story. And so we've been uh, very active watching um, the weaponization of our judicial system, to let child traffickers, criminal traffickers, because don't forget, He did not make the wisest decisions. I hope you could hear what I was saying. Oh my gosh, I have to start all over. I was talking about the audio recordings and Mr. Holman, and I talked about the Jaime Esparza audio recordings that Joe Spencer allowed Jaime Esparza to stay on the case, um, because of the wanting. It looks like greed to me. It looks like greed. Let's just let him stay on for 2 years, and we'll just pocket the millions of dollars and just delay, 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 which is, a violation of Patrick Crusius's rights to a speedy trial. But he allowed it, and in the recordings he allowed it, and why was that a problem? Because Jaime Esparza's sister was in the Walmart, and that caused a conflict of interest and made it personal. And so therefore, you can't be a prosecutor when you have that kind of conflict of interest. And clearly that was very interesting audio. There's another audio where he's talking about Patrick Crusius, that clearly Patrick Crusius is on the and that has, autism, that he's on the spectrum, that he's severe, because um the audio mentions that, he has a verbal problem. He has a verbal problem, right? So, we were right again. We were right again. He has a verbal problem. That is an issue, right? That's an issue. And so, does he speak? Yes, he does speak. Okay, so that was clarified, and so we just have to go through Team Farm Richard Halliday, all of these audios, and listen. And so but he does have a verbal problem. We don't know what his communication skills are. They're limited, right? That's clear that and so look, if you're going to tell me that a person that has communication problems, that says he's not a racist, that he's not a white supremacist, and Joe Spencer says in these audio recordings that he says he's not race. Oh, and what's funny about it is Joe Spencer says that he went in to Patrick Crusius and said, I have a brown ass. You have a problem with that? I mean, what kind of lawyer is that, right? What kind of defense lawyer is that? Right? Who's going to ask a question like that? I mean, I need to make a song out of it. Joe Spencer has a brown ass. I mean, this is crazy, right? This is there's so much insanity here. Yeah. So he says that, and Patrick Crusius denies he's racist, and Joe Spencer's like, I don't know, that's weird to me. What do you mean it's weird? You've got him surrendering in clean clothes minutes after he is supposed to have done this terrible crime in rage and hate and all of this stuff, and be a racist and stuff like that, and upload his manifesto, yet he calmly, peacefully surrenders, all clean, with a car that does not have a front license plate. We have these weird pictures. One picture has no license plate on the front of the car. One picture does have a license plate on the front. It is so weird. Is there tampering going on? I don't know. I'll leave that to the law enforcement. But, how did he get there? Did he drive? Did he really have a driver's license? I mean, I have so many questions because there's so much tampering. But we have to look at the hard evidence. And the hard evidence is that Patrick Crusius had clean clothes on and peacefully, without any kind of resistance, without any kind of resistance at the arrest, went up to a Hispanic law enforcement officer and surrendered himself. Now, that does not sound like a person that is in any kind of rage. And then in the audio recordings of Joe Spencer, he says he's not a racist. Then at his hearing, what hearing was it when he was sentenced? His sentencing hearing in July of 2023, he's confronted with Mr. Rickard, I hope I say his name right, who asks him, are you a racist? Are you a white supremacist? Are you a white supremacist? And he nods his head no, right? In these new audios, you have Joe Spencer saying that he's not sure when Patrick Cruces learned how to speak, when he got his verbal ability. So there's a lot of problems with that, right? That he failed kindergarten. Okay, that he failed kindergarten. I was a kindergarten teacher, y'all. No child fails kindergarten unless they have to go to special needs and special education, and that the teachers in special education were putting him in the corner because he would hit himself. He has severe autism. And he has verbal problems, and he has special needs. And there are, I'm not telling anyone what to do if they have special needs or autistic children, but there are things that people are doing today that really help reverse the autistic problem. And it's very interesting to me because I'm an educator, and you see that there's a big problem. So it's so sad. He absolutely, to this day, has major severe mental health condition. This is what was written. So I don't know if they just gave up on him. I don't know if they sacrificed him. I don't know what they did. I don't know. But all I know is the hard evidence shows that he said no to racism. He said no to white supremacy. He has special needs. He has verbal problems, communication problems, education problems. He failed kindergarten. And he peacefully, without resistance, surrendered himself. He peacefully, without resistance, without attitude, has been showing up publicly. He's been abused, in my opinion. He looks malnourished. He's been paraded around in this prison outfit with chains, when all he has shown is peaceful non-resistance, going along with everything. That he hasn't shown any violence. And they pleaded him with the manipulation of the court, of the federal court. Joe Spencer lied to the federal court. It's not me saying that. Evidence confirms that he lied to the federal court to plead him out to 90 life sentences. And I've been saying 1,000 years, but it's not. I was informed, corrected, it's like 9,000 years. It's like 9,000 years. You know, wow. For shock purposes, can you imagine? And now we have Steve Miller becoming the assistant chief of staff for this new administration, who has on record said that the trafficking was allowed from Washington, D.C. We have phone records tracing our harassing, vile and vulgar harassment for months back to the White House, back to Santa Clara, California, which is Stanford University, which is Silicon Valley, to the NATO, to South Korea, Seoul, South Korea, to the FBI office there, to Canada. The shock of that whole thing is, to know that something is happening, that we are getting messages, that we are getting information that is saying, look, there is a problem with criminal sex trafficking. We've been right all along. Richard was reporting on it. And to know that you have two people now, and it's going to start getting even more, that two people that are very going to be able to make things happen, are on record, calling out Fort Bliss and El Paso as the nucleus for this sex trafficking, for this criminal trafficking, and then to have the chief of staff assistant to call it out that it is a problem, that it is a major problem. And for us and our 4 years of investigating, knowing that this open borders, bringing millions of people over, is like, a curtain to cover up all of the child sex trafficking that's going on at the border. And to know that there are like 325,000 to 500,000 right there from Fort Bliss Intake Center. Before that, they had another intake center, that they were trafficking children for many purposes, and now they're mostly dead. And we're getting information that some of the older ones were trafficked, or maybe younger ones too, for organ harvesting and organ trafficking. It just makes you burst out in tears. I mean, at least it does me. You got the sex cults, and I can tell you right now, 100%, Fort Bliss and El Paso had very, very bad actors in very high leadership roles, very bad actors. Richard was a code red, and our information is that they physically harmed him to shut him up, to intimidate him. They absolutely isolated him. Did they know to do it? When you look at CID, Tavita Nusa, when you look at CID, Marlon Soto, bad actors. When you look at First Sergeant Jay Paulin, when you look at First Sergeant Michael Roddick, could they be these bullies that could isolate Richard? Could his platoon leader, Dallas Hart, isolate Richard, take away his phone? They told us he had no roommate. They had isolated him so that he could not talk or submit any kind of information reports. But he already had conversations, communication with Washington, D.C., with FBI Houston, with Child Protective Services, with CID, with IG, and now to know that IG, Army IG, is Donna Martin, bad actor Donna Martin, and then to know that you had Patrick Matlock as a commander, you had Clem Coward as Richards, ADA commander. You had Bradford Bugado in there in the G3, bad actor. These are all bad actors. Nadal Baim, bad actor. You had Dallas Hart's father in the VA in the IDES Pablo, which is a disability benefits, bad actor. You had Lonnie Hart, Dallas Hart's mother, all over the place, giving sexual favors to multiple people. You had her connection with DES, Thomas Kane, the director of emergency services, bad actor, giving passes to these young girls to get on, allowing this 14-year-old girl to be pimped out living in the barracks, um, having control of the CCTV footage. You have CYS, um, and Ogle, bad actor. She's supposed to be looking out for all the children that are on Fort Bliss. That's her job on Fort Bliss, the children's health, well-being, physical, mental, on Fort Bliss. Bad actor. You got hundreds of thousands being trafficked for all kinds of reasons, and now they're mostly dead. You've got Sean Bernabe, who was given a star. You got Donna Martin, who was given a star. So you got the bad actors in the Senate Arms Committee. Very clear. You have Eisenhower. You have Kurt Taylor. Kurt Taylor is the new, these are bad actors. These are enemies of goodness. They cannot be allowed to wear our beautiful, this is my message on Veterans Day. They cannot be able to have a badge, to have stars, to have a uniform, because then they can weaponize the system. They have to be held accountable for the harm that they have done, the immense harm that they have done, the lives that have been taken because of their bad acting, because they've been up to no good, because they've been up to evil. Evil must be restrained. And that means they need to be held accountable. And we have to be brave enough to hold them accountable. And to see someone strong like Stephen Miller in there, like him or not like him, he is strong and he speaks out, and he's been speaking out against the child trafficking, the child sex trafficking at a very high level, calling out the Bidens for doing it, calling out Kamala for doing it. It's just, a lot of people are doing this Trump dance, right? I don't know. I can't even dance about this stuff. I want them held accountable. I don't want to do a dance. I want to see these people held accountable because they're monsters. They're absolutely monsters. And they were using millions of people, be it, criminals, be it from insane asylums or whatever. And some of them are good people. Some of them, were just brought in. Some of them were kidnapped. Think about all the, they're as families, but they use them. They're used. Instead of processing people legally, vetting people legally, because no one can argue that we don't want people to come to our country. We want people to come to this country. We've wanted our whole history people to come to this country. We have so much land. We have so much space. We have so much need for them. But are these bad actors that hold positions, that hold badges, that wear our uniforms, that have the stars, that have got in there, that have, weaponized the system. And it's, I'm not, this is not 100%. I'm saying this is this bad acting group. We have to weed them out. And they wanted people to come into our country illegally. They didn't even love the people enough to vet them and let them come in legally. They want to use them. They want to have something to hold over their head. Remember, you're illegal. Remember how James Hart used that against his wife. If you say something, then I'm going to expose your problem with immigration. Because Leilani Hart has an immigration problem. It's clear in the documents. And he used that against her. Now, is she a good actor? No, she's a very bad actor. She's a convicted criminal. But what I'm saying is that when you're bringing people in, millions of people, and you have something to control them, you have strings on them, that's not love. That's like slavery. Why couldn't they, with all their power, say, we're going to open things up in a legal manner? We're going to vet people legally. And then when they come into the country, they're free. They're free. They don't have to steal social security numbers. They don't have to steal names. They don't have to look over their shoulders. They don't have to be worried about being separated from their family when they have children and grandchildren and all this stuff. So it's just, that is the indication that that they were up to no good, because they could have done that. But they wanted a cover. They wanted another problem so that they could cover up their criminal trafficking. Be it sex trafficking, be it the narcotics, be it the ammunition, be it the weapons, whatever. And it's the same thing with the Walmart case. The Walmart case was a lid on Richard's reports. It was a cover. And they had to get that lid very quickly because there were audits, because there were ongoing and active investigations. And they had to put a lid on it. And what did they do? They orchestrated. It's just a ridiculous scheme. And they just thought, well, we have enough people in our grips with strings tied to them that are compromised, that are, have maybe family members that have strings or whatever, that we can control, that we can put this lid on, and we can make it happen. And and they were desperate because it was so sloppy and it was so deadly. And they had to do the gag order, and they had to control the media, pay out a lot of money and millions of dollars. I mean, and the goodness of the people of the United States, and you can tell that the United States is not racist, because just the donations alone in the Walmart Victims Fund exceeded $12 million. Now, that doesn't sound like a people that don't care for everybody, because you had Hispanics, you had Anglo-Saxon, you had German in there, you had those from Mexico, that weren't even citizens, and the American people around the world gave money, loads of money. And that's hard. It's hard to raise that kind of money. And they did it. And then there was fraud with that. And Yvonne Rosales didn't think kindly of that. Hey, people were given from their hearts. And now there's all this evidence shows that there's a fraud with uh, this distribution of this money. And then she gets targeted. And she's looking into Richard's case then, because the Walmart case is Richard's case. Why is this so weird, right? Why is this so weird? Oh, they had to put a lid on Richard Halliday's case. And now you've got, very clear, one big mess of violations and real criminal activity in so many ways, in the criminal trafficking, in the violations of the laws with the Richards case, in the violation of the laws with the Walmart mass shooting, in all of the murder cases, in the murder of Richard, in the cover-up of Richard, in the cover-up of the murders that happened in the Walmart. And you have shooters roaming free. You have murderers that are at large. And you have, a federal court that has mud on their face. You have the state case ran by Sam Madrano, which is, let me see, I got a message here. Let me get this straight. You are saying that the Walmart shooting happened to cover up your son going missing because he reported porn. Is that correct? Okay, so it's a little bit more deep than that. Richard wanted to be a criminal investigator. He always wanted to be that. He was very keen on that. He knew, he watched everything. When you love to do something, then you learn about it, right? When he saw the misconduct, when he saw the criminal trafficking, okay, because Fort Bliss is the nucleus of criminal trafficking. So says Homan, the new border czar. Fort Bliss, El Paso, is the nucleus of the criminal sex trafficking. All right? Richard was reporting on that. Richard was reporting on that. He was reporting, he was in communication with Washington, D.C., with CID, with IG. IG were all over the barracks because of Halliday. Why was that? In 2019, when he was reporting because he told us, it's so bad. It's so bad. When he got back, because he came to visit us, when he got back, they were being audited. They were being investigated. We were told that by the generals, that they were being audited, that they were being investigated. And part of that was because of the guns. Part of that, was all of the unlawfulness in the barracks, loads of guns, loads. Okay. And there's a lot of evidence behind that. That would take me a long time to tell you. But so evidence shows they were under audit. They were being investigated in 2019. August 3rd, 2019, they quickly had to put a lid on it because these are leaders, political leaders. These are bad actors. This is a rogue criminal group that are compromised by the cartel. We have evidence that confirms that these bad actors are compromised with the Mexican cartel, and they didn't want that exposed. They put a lid on it. Just the narcotics alone is $90 billion a year. Just the narcotics alone is $90 billion a year. Okay? It's a lot of money. And they did not want that spigot turned off. They absolutely, Ernest Christopher Grant, bad actor. He was the media sweetheart. He was called out a liar, a villain in this. Clearly, Patrick Crusius does not have the mental capacity to pull something like this off. Okay? This was not a hate crime. The evidence, this is not me. The evidence confirms this was not a racist hate crime. And that Joe Spencer said it himself. And we'll release the audio. That in the hearing, Patrick Crusius said no. So, the evidence is, look, he was banging his head on the sidewalk at 3. He had a verbal problem. He had a communication problem. How can he was in special education. How can he even put together this manifesto? He had zero net worth, yet he can orchestrate this? He can buy these weapons. He can pay the gas. He can have the internet service. He can upload from his own computer, and he has zero net worth. And we have more information coming in on him now. The evidence shows, the evidence confirms that he did not do this on his own, that I'm thinking he didn't do anything because where his clothes were clean. That just does not happen. And he's like walking up to this Hispanic, non-resistant, peaceful, minutes later. Minutes. Not hours, not a day later. Minutes. Yeah, we cannot we can't live in a matrix, in a twilight zone. We have to face reality. And the reality is, and I didn't want to face this. And I am on record in El Paso praying that what I knew was true was not true. But I have to face reality. Richard is a hero. He is a hero. He paid the ultimate price because he was reporting on the criminal trafficking. And it was his reports with others that brought in these audits and this investigation that put him at great risk. And Delta Battery 143 is a unique battery. They have access to fuel. If you're going to traffic, you want access to fuel. Delta Battery has access to fuel. Okay? There's so many things here. And they targeted Richard, the same people that targeted Richard, that targeted our family, that targeted the investigation, that targeted the key, because there's more than one, but a key whistleblower in our son's case, Judge Roger Rodriguez, are the same people that were part of the Walmart mass shooting case, that targeted Yvonne Rosales. that are of Bliss Avenue, that are bad actors, that are part of the rogue criminal group. They are the same story, the same case. And they are connected to compromised, uniformed personnel on Fort Bliss. And I can tell you right now, Sean Bernabe is compromised. Major General Clem Coward, retired now, is compromised. Michael Garrett and his connections are with Arizona, too, where this problem is. He's compromised. McConville is compromised. Mealy is compromised. These are 4-star generals. Garrett, Mealy, and McConville, all 4-star generals. They're compromised. Donna Martin is compromised. 3-star general. You're talking about people that sold out America because of $90 billion just in narcotic sales at the border. Maybe they got into their positions because they were already compromised. Because HRC is compromised. You have FitFam El Paso, compromised. We acquired FitFam El Paso because they had forfeiture. Why would a for-profit that was very profitable company forfeiture their LLC? Ask that question. Because in order to keep that LLC, they have to submit all the information about their company, all of their staff, and they have to pay the taxes. And they're compromised. And I can go on. Well, I know in 2000, there was a $1 million bust in Bliss. Wow, thank you so much, April. I'm very cautious when new people come on because we have been so retaliated against with vile and vulgar language. So please have patience with us, with me, during these live streams. Mealy should be recalled and court-martialed. Bannon said it on the War Room. Absolutely, 100%. And Richard's father is a hero because he has put his name on the line, risked his life for 4 years, padding the files of all of these agencies over and over again, knowing that our son's file was tampered with, that our son's file had been sanitized by whistleblowers, by evidence. They wanted absolutely to create a cover-up, and they tampered with government documents. We know that. We know that Bill Hicks tampered with his own installation government documents. He's a usurper. And he lost the election now. So Montoya's in. But just because he lost the election does not mean he should not be held accountable. Just like Mealy, even though he's retired, he got this cushy job, right? With a big bank. He needs to be court-martialed. Same thing with Sean Bernabe. Same thing with, you have Donna Martin, she created with Sean Bernabe a task force find Richard Halliday with 15 plus agencies, okay? And even El Mayo didn't get that. Even El Chapo didn't get that. They got maybe five agencies. Richard's case got over 15 agencies. Richard's Interpol was tampered with. So much was tampered with. So these people absolutely need to be held accountable. They have weaponized their positions. And that it's treason against the United States. It really is. And so many people get hurt. So, um, yes, Richard's case is the Walmart case. They are so connected, from Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, from Bliss Avenue to Danae Katzen with KTSM, with Belen Rocha, with Jonathan Ambrose, with it just goes on and on. And we've named them. We have filed. Rob has put his name on the line. We have become part of the SB4 case. We have hundreds of complaints. I don't know if it's hundreds of complaints, but it's so many complaints, so many notifications, so many FOIAs, so many. It's just 4 years, on and on, and we're not done. We are still submitting them because they're tampered with, and they mess with evidence, and so you have to be relentless in filing. We still do not have our FOIA, even though our son, we drove them to officially declare our son murdered on Fort Bliss. They finally admitted that he was dead. And when we got all of the receipts, all of the paperwork, he was murdered on Fort Bliss. Where is his remains? We still have not received his remains. We still have not been able to have a funeral. We still have not even been able to have a memorial because we have evidence that confirms that they have partial remains of our son. And you have a fake, illegal chief medical examiner, Mario Raskin Ortiz. You have Penny Hamilton, who is a fake judge with no authority. You have a CPS that refuses to give us our open records, that is violating our rights because absolutely Richard put in reports to the Child Protective Services. They won't give it to us. Why? We have so much evidence, it just makes your head spin. And Nadal Baim, oh my goodness, so people that have been on this for a long time, we really appreciate it because it is a little convoluted. I was friends with Commanding General Dana Pittard in 2008, 2011. I retired in 2013. Yeah, it hurts our military when you have these bad actors because the military is not a democracy. You have to follow orders. And so we do need to have these marshals. But you do not have to follow illegal orders. And Donna Martin being IG. So she was provost marshal during the whole thing with Vanessa Guillen and with Richard, same month, all that stuff happened. And one of their excuses was we can't have another Vanessa Guillen. We can't have another Guillen situation, talking about Richard. And then they gave her another star, made her IG, so that she's supposed to be investigating herself and her failure in both the Vanessa Guillen and Richard Halliday case and many other cases. It's so criminal what they did and what they have done and what they're doing. And now Um, we're getting we're getting a whole new administration, and it's looking very promising that we will get accountability. And with that, hopefully, our son's remains so that we can have closure. And so, thank you so much, everybody, for sticking with us. We've done the hard work, and we're continuing to do the hard work behind the scenes. Um, and this is looking promising. And we've been right all along. Richard was right all along. There's criminal trafficking, and he was code red murdered for it. And Holman said Fort Bliss, El Paso is the nucleus, is the center of it. And even the politicians, and I'm going to tell you right now, I know that Beto O'Rourke is a bad actor in the Walmart case. And absolutely so is Veronica Escobar in our case. We met with her twice. She's a super bad actor. And she's up to no good. She's up to really no good. So, thank you so much. And we're going to continue to work and continue to drive them to do their duty, whoever's in their positions. So thank you. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.